Today, March 30th, is World Bipolar Awareness Day. We hope this morning to shed some light on a mental condition that frankly doesn't get nearly as much attention as it deserves. Millions of our fellow Americans, some estimates put it as high as 10 million, deal with bipolar disorder. And if left untreated, it can be devastating to a life, to a family. Joining us now to talk more about bipolar disorder and treatments is Dr. Meghan Marcum. She's chief psychologist at AMFM Healthcare. Dr. Marcum, thanks so much for joining us on this World Bipolar Awareness Day.
Oh, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Well, why don't we start with a brief, I know it's complex and it can present differently in each person, but can you give us briefly a description of the diagnosis?
Yeah, so bipolar disorder is a serious mental health condition and a mood disorder affecting millions of Americans each year. It's important to understand that bipolar disorder exists on a spectrum, meaning symptoms can vary from person to person and can also range in severity.
A mood disorder, interesting words, and I know that words matter, and so those words matter here. What can we be on the lookout for in the people we love or even in ourselves?
The signs of bipolar disorder would include periods of depression and then other periods where there are hypomanic or manic symptoms that also appear. The mood changes are extremely disruptive to the individual and difficult to control without treatment. Treatment for bipolar disorder usually includes a combination of medication and psychotherapy.
Okay, so let's talk about that treatment there, because I know that we've really come a long way, have we not, in recent times in terms of treatment modalities and in therapeutics. What is the reality like for someone who is living in treatment and managing to live with a bipolar diagnosis when treated correctly?
When treated correctly, it's possible for people with bipolar disorder to have a very fulfilling life. It can take a little bit of time to understand which medication works best or which combination of medications work best. Sometimes the symptoms shift. Again, it can exist over a continuum. So it's not an easy fix. It is chronic. It needs to be managed lifelong. But again, once you do find an effective course of treatment, then you can live a very long and fulfilling life.
But I can imagine that when you first get word of a diagnosis, it can feel like a gut punch for many people, right? Because you sort of think of worst case scenario and you think about the long road you have ahead of them. That's part of one of the things that I imagine you have to do is work with them to understand what the road will be like for them.
Oh, absolutely. There's still such a stigma around mental health. So, there's that layer, and then also talking to them about monitoring their symptoms. And once you start to feel better, oftentimes clients don't want to take the medication anymore. It has side effects. So there's a long road and a lot of education that goes along with the diagnosis.
And it's education for the people in their sphere, right? Their family, their loved ones, because unfortunately, like many diagnoses, it's not just the patient that is affected.
Absolutely. Yeah. When families are involved, when they educate themselves and they are offering support to the individual with the diagnosis, research shows that everyone does better. Everyone has a better opportunity to understand the shifts in mood cycles, and then they can react in a way that's much more supportive and healthy.
What would you say to someone who has just been diagnosed? Give them some hope here, because I think that feels like a weighty piece of news to be given. But oftentimes there's great power in naming something, I suppose, right?
Oh, absolutely. And as you said, we've come a long way in treatment and the different medications that are offered, and just the opportunities for clients to receive treatment. There, maybe 10 years ago, wasn't a lot of opportunity for clients who were struggling with bipolar disorder to come to a facility to get treatment like the one where I work. And so I would just offer them hope and say that I've been there, and this is a diagnosis that can be very manageable. And so, just take it one step at a time and have a good therapist and good family members around to support you. There's
help out there. You're not alone in this walk, in this journey. Dr. Marcum, thank you so much for joining on this day that is set aside to spread awareness and hopefully learn some more about what's available in terms of help. Again, Dr. Meghan Marcum is a chief psychologist with AMFM Healthcare. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.